Watch America's sunrise.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to this American Sunrise, live from West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be back.
And live from our Denver, Colorado studios, where patriotism, I believe, is at an all-time high. Ed and Karyn, they were still firing fireworks in my neighborhood at 2:30 this morning when I was on my way into work. I got no sleep because it was consistent. Even despite the rain, they were still shooting off fireworks, and there were bangs and bombs.
Wait, they were? Or you were?
So I did it early in the day. Yeah, I did it early in the day and really throughout the weekend, probably from Friday on until early in the evening Sunday, or early in the evening yesterday. I was firing off fireworks, but I went to bed. You know, somebody's got to work. I got to go to work. But my neighbors, dude, I promise you, 2:30 this morning when I was leaving, they were still firing fireworks.
Well, I have an answer, but go ahead. I know why.
I was going to say, I was thinking about you. Every time I saw someone shoot off a firework from their backyard, I thought of you. I thought about T. Bates and what he was doing. Was he shooting off fireworks?
You told us in our 4th of July special. Happy Independence Day, by the way, everybody. But you said you love to do that. Even though you're frugal, you save some money each year so you can have a big fireworks display.
Absolutely.
And in terms of why other people were up all night, I think it may have to do with what was going on at the White House. They may have just flown in from Washington. On Sunday, there were hazmat crews called in because they found a substance inside the West Wing of the White House where the president is, his top staff. Powdery substance. Yes, everyone thinks anthrax and all these horrible things. It's cocaine.
I would think that
and that's why people stay up all night sometimes.
Cameras? Like, do they have Ring or Nest cameras there in the White House?
I hope so.
A lot of people have them in their homes.
When Joe's walking around with Jill, he gets that noise. The Ring, somebody's at the door. Somebody's at the door. Someone's got some coke. There's a delivery. Hunter's dealers here.
I get the joke, and I like how you kind of brought the two together, but are you kind of de facto saying that I've got cocaine addicted neighbors?
No, not you personally.
Okay, I had to clear that up.
They're up all night. They're on a bender. They start firing things off. They're
He's on his way to work.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm behind.
Literally, I'm driving out of the parking lot and I'm seeing firework off, and then like down the street, boom! I'm like, what is going on? It's just like, are you people serious? 2:30. Like we're past the holiday now. It's time to get to work.
Get to bed. Right, it's the middle of the week. But everybody, half the country works from home now. There's all kinds of studies, and we've got some details a little bit. It's basically they're looking at cell phone records now in places like San Francisco, and there's like 30% of the cell phone traffic inside the city that there was, say, 3 years ago, because people are working from home.
Right.
I was in New York City a couple weeks back, and I was talking to friends who say that, it's like a 3-day work week. And I've got a restaurant owner friend in Manhattan who's barely making it, used to have a great living. There's no happy hour. Everybody's working from home. The happy hour's at home on a Zoom call.
It's a different world.
Totally different world.
Totally.
And then you go on airplanes and you try to get a picture, a little travel log of what it's like to travel with your co-host, and this is what you come up with. Here we go. They won't even show their face on the plane anymore. Karyn, what is this?
This is me sleeping on the plane.
I was disappointed. I thought I was trying to get a picture for the show.
I was done. I was out. I was cooked.
Your face.
You weren't cooked. Moving on from our last segment, you were not cooked. I'm just like, what's the deal here? But there was happier.
And I want to say, this time I knew you were photographing me.
You did?
Other times in the past, they did not. But that was actually a post for that.
How did you know?
I did. I knew.
So tell us about the video.
The video is epic. Okay, so the GOAT, the greatest president of all time, has goats. Terrance, did you know this? Goats, real live goats in New Jersey.
I learned it by following you on Instagram, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to play the video. Here we go.
Watch. Are they letting you pet them?
What is happening?
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that. There's goats everywhere.
You're so sweet. You're so nice.
Oh, wait, more are coming.
Come here, please. Oh, it's so nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh.
Hi. Hi.
This is like down the goat hole.
Oh my goodness.
Not the rabbit hole.
Hi, everyone. Come over. Come.
They're like, wait, is there food involved?
Come, everyone, come over.
Oh my gosh, there's like a whole herd.
I want everybody, join me. Join me. We're gonna have so much fun.
What's up, buddy?
Come on,
you want to say hello?
Hi,
hey,
everyone.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
So the context is years ago, the president it kind of turned it's about 117 acres, so turned it into a farm beyond the golf course. There's a lot of property, and the goats eat the grass and do other things. So there's a tax deduction associated with that. In the first presidential campaign, the left tried to turn it into a swindle deal, a swamp deal, and it's
a swamp deal.
He's got goats.
Look how cute they are, and they're so domesticated, and they love to get pets. I mean, look at this. There was one that was sitting on my lap, Terrance, like climbed in my lap. Like it was ridiculous. They're so friendly, they're so cute, and they're so well taken care of. I'm sure
they're Trumps.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. They come from a pretty affluent family, so I get that. But Karyn, I think, Karyn, you are the modern day Dr. Doolittle. The way you talk to the animals is as if you guys are truly having conversations. I think that is hilarious.
They can understand her.
They do, and
Apparently.
I understand them. I feel like we are having conversations. Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to some other serious stuff. A Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you've heard about this movie. You probably have. Did over about $20 million. MAGA man of many voices last night says he went to see it. Unequivocally one of the most powerful, moving, disturbing, and redeeming things I've ever seen. Now, this is all about rescuing children who are being exploited. We talked about it at the National Religious Broadcasters. This was being put together, Angel Productions. Tell everyone to see this important film. Buy a ticket for a friend. Take your family. Take your loved ones. I'll be seeing it more than once, he writes. It was acted impeccably. I found my eyes filled with tears, my fists clenched in rage, and my heart heavy because of the the pedophiles. There are these folks who are just pouring their souls into saving children. And what they're saying about a lot of people are going online and buying tickets for other people who might not be able to afford it and just paying it forward so that as many people as possible can see this film.
I think at the end when he said, "But my soul is hopeful," I think that's a very powerful message.
You're right.
Yeah, and this movie apparently shines the light on child sex trafficking and human trafficking in general. And it's something that happens every single day, but so many of us are blind to it. And so this is shining a light to it. Hopefully there's something that we can all glean out of this. So when we see something, we may recognize something and be able to...
Absolutely. The Resistance chicks saw it and are going to be here in just a few minutes talking about it.
Yeah, they were texting me.
So we will be talking about that. Let's talk a little bit about Donald J. Trump. This rally in South Carolina, remember what happened in Iowa some weeks back? I said, oh my God, he can't get crowds anymore. He had to cancel it. He said it was bad weather. South Carolina, there's a town of 3,000 or 4,000 people. Daniel Baldwin posted this. Thousands of people were online before 8 a.m. He didn't speak till about 1 p.m. Enthusiasm through the roof. And you watch this, it went on for literally miles. Guys, this is a town of 3,000 or 4,000 people, and yet the crowds were 50 to 75,000 people. This was Saturday. What do you think?
Wow. I thank God all these patriots were able to get out there and just look at this. Renews your hope in America. It renews your hope that the people are still coming out in force for what's right, and freedom is what's right, and people are seeking that right now. They're hungry for it.
I appreciate the venue. This was in a downtown area of this small town, kind of the town square, if you will, and people literally packed that place out. And it just was a cool venue and really kind of a departure, I think, from some of the typical venues we see the president speak.
Yeah, and Karyn just said this shows freedom alive and well. That's what the president said. Watch.
Remember, I used to use the word socialism. They passed that station a long time ago. Communism, they're fascists, Marxists. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I will never let it happen. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. And I just happen to be standing in their way. It's an honor to do so. And it's no wonder the swamp is getting truly desperate, because as we do better and better and our poll numbers rocket, they get more and more vicious. They have all these vicious thugs, just vicious, horrible thugs.
Yeah, thugs. He talked about the investigation. By the way, Lindsey Graham went up to the podium.
Oh, he sure did.
Before the president.
He sure did.
It's his home state. Didn't go so well, Terrance.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are disheartened with Lindsey Graham. A lot of people have called him a rhino, even though he seems to try to physically align himself with the president. But there obviously have been some positions that he's taken that have been quite in opposition to President Trump.
Absolutely. Now, Mailman Media had nothing to do with this rally, but some of the reviews are coming in and saying maybe there's a connection. Trump now draws larger crowds than Elvis. That, according to the D.C. Inquirer. And if you read closely, Karyn, they say Trump is a successful music artist now, too. In March, he topped all music charts with his January 6th Prison Choir song, even beating Taylor Swift. Is there anything Trump cannot do?
Incredible.
So they're tying it to his number one song. And remember, he went on Hannity and said, I'm the new Elvis. And these crowds, it is incredible. It's going to be fascinating to watch some, as the summer wears on.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get out on the road. This was an early test. And I think, Terrance, the next thing, if you look at this, he had a warning shot for Joe Biden, said the gloves are off. Watch. Mm-hmm.
Now the gloves are off. Now we have to say it like it is. He's a crook. Under crooked Joe Biden, I never called him that. I took the name away from Hillary Clinton. We call her Beautiful Hillary now, and because it was Crooked Hillary, now it's Crooked Joe, because it's a much more appropriate name right now.
He went from Crooked Hillary to Crooked Joe. Let me put up, though, the next one and let you react, Terrance. After that crowd, it's very interesting. This guy Simon, who covers the White House. After that massive crowd, the White House announced over the weekend Joe Biden is traveling there Thursday, July 6th, the president will travel to South Carolina. Additional details to follow, as if they didn't really know, Karyn. We're going to pick the city, we're going to figure this out, but oh my gosh, Trump went and got 75,000 people, maybe, Terrance. And South Carolina was the firewall, by the way, for Biden. He lost Iowa, New Hampshire. South Carolina delivered for him for the nomination in 2020. And now they're looking at South Carolina saying, wow, Trump's got a following.
What about East Palestine? Is he going there?
Well, that's a little bit west. They just want to go right down the east.
They just want to go right there.
They want to go from Washington
just
south.
Right there.
Yeah, Air
just
Force
take
One.
The political angle.
Yeah.
And is there an ice cream shop there?
I think there's ice cream in East Palestine, but I think Air Force One must only go north to south. So it just goes from Washington to South Carolina. To Karyn's point, it can't make a detour to Ohio. Still can't do it. It's probably been about 150 days.
Yeah, it's been way too long. He needs to get there. My suspicion is he'll probably end up maybe in a place like a Charleston, South Carolina, someplace like that, someplace that is a little bit more liberal, even though when I think of Charleston, that's a home base for, what's his name, Senator out of South Carolina. Of course, his name escapes me now. But that's for the Republican senator there in South Carolina. His name escapes me. Of course, I couldn't think of it when I need to.
We're not talking Tim Scott? Or?
Tim Scott. Right. He's from North Charleston. That's his home base, so it may not be as friendly at confines as the president might expect, but I would think that's someplace he might go, because let's be honest, South Carolina is a pretty red state, and so he's not going to find many friendly places there.
No doubt about it. To somebody who's having a hard time finding a friendly venue right now, Ron DeSantis, Politico. We are way behind top DeSantis PAC official. Sounds the alarm. We're going to talk to Caroline Leavitt next hour. This is Steve Cortes, who obviously worked for President Trump, kind of, turned away some months ago, went to DeSantis, and he was on this Twitter Spaces thing over the weekend and said, we're way behind right now, Karyn.
It's obvious. I mean, look at the results. He can't pull a crowd together.
It's
look
crazy.
At Donald Trump. Look at the crowd he pulls.
It's absolutely insane, Terrance. Quick thought.
And, it's funny because they're saying, we're going to keep fighting. Cortez, saying, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep pushing. But I think that behind all of that, they're already resigned that they've lost this race, that, second place is the best they're going to do. They're not going to catch Donald Trump, no matter how much.
It's going to take something dramatic, and it's going to take something super dramatic, and we're not seeing it just yet. Why don't we hit Jesus Calling?
Let's go ahead and do that. Jesus Calling today. Draw near to me with a thankful heart, aware that your cup is overflowing with blessings. Gratitude enables you to perceive me more clearly and rejoice in our love relationship. Nothing can separate you from my loving presence. And this comes from Psalm 56, 3-4. When I am afraid, I will trust in you. In God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I will not be afraid. What can mortal man do to me?
That's an incredible way to get this day going. I want to mention also with Sound of Freedom, if you go to, I'm looking at a live chat, you go to angel.com/war room, and you can line up tickets there. They've got a special deal. And we've already got over 2,000 people in the Getter chat.
Incredible.
Peeking over at Rumble. People are streaming us on Rumble as well, and they're chatting in there. So welcome to everybody. And now Terrance has got some headlines.
That's right, guys. The Biden administration is on notice this morning to stop some of its agencies from contacting social media companies in order to influence them into moderating content. A federal judge handed down the injunction on Tuesday in response to a lawsuit that was brought by Republican attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri. That suit alleges the Biden administration went too far in its efforts to push social media companies to censor information about vaccines during the pandemic and information that may have influenced elections. Under Tuesday's rulings, agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services and the FBI cannot talk to social media companies, quote, for the purpose of urging, encouraging, pressuring, or inducing in any manner the removal, deletion, suppression, or reduction of content containing protected free speech. The West Wing of the White House will be brimming with side eyes and suspicion as staffers get back to work today after the Washington Fire Department confirms a white substance found at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue near the executive mansion where President Biden lives is in fact cocaine. In the meantime, the world is watching to see what the Secret Service investigation into the drugs turns up, or if the case will be swept under the rug. The cocaine was reportedly found during a routine search of the area over the weekend. It forced a precautionary closure of the West Wing while Secret Service agents investigated. President Biden and his family were at Camp David when the powder was found and didn't return to the White House until Tuesday morning. However, given Hunter Biden's history with drugs, serious questions are being raised about the possibility that he may be responsible for those drugs. Again, no confirmation at this point. From cocaine at the White House to a violent 4th of July weekend, the nation's capital is making headlines for all of the wrong reasons. 9 people are recovering from gunshot wounds after a drive-by in Northeast D.C. early this morning. Police say the group was targeted. The victims include a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old. Today's shooting comes on the heels of 28 people being shot and 2 killed at a block party in Baltimore on Sunday. The very next day, a gunman killed 5 people in Philadelphia, and on Monday night, 3 people were killed and 8 others hurt when several men fired into a crowd at a festival in Fort Worth, Texas. Well, folks, if you think you don't need emergency food, you may want to think again. The government recently revealed the truth about the coming food shortages. According to the USDA, fully 1/3 of America's annually planted crops will not be harvested this season. Severe droughts and fertilizer shortages wipe them out, which means food is going to get scarce and it's going to get expensive. So, is your family prepared for that? If not, now is the time to stock up on emergency food from My Patriot Supply, and you can do so at discount prices. All you have to do is go to preparewithrav.com and you'll save big on each 4-week emergency food kit for your family. In fact, you'll get breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks that will keep everyone going strong. Best of all, the food is delicious. Your entire family will love it, so act now and save big on each 4-week kit that you need. Go to preparewithrav.com and get free shipping as well. What could be easier? You'll never forgive yourself if you let your family suffer. So go to preparewithrav.com and order your 4-week food supply. Well, that's going to do it for your headlines. Now let's get you back to our West Palm Beach studios. That's where #KED, Ed and Karyn are hanging out, guys.
Yeah, good to see you. I see Ralph and Chuck in the live chat saying there's new meaning to White House today.
For sure.
You know, there was a Biden advisor who was on Twitter saying, shame on anyone for suggesting Hunter had any role. Why would we suggest that he's only had this incredible history? He was in the White House, I believe, Friday before going to Camp David. They found it on Sunday. And this advisor was on Twitter saying, you know, this is an area of the West Wing that is available to White House tours, so someone essentially may have planted it there.
Again, if it's available to tours, don't they have cameras? Wouldn't they see who was walking through? Couldn't they review the footage and see that somebody dropped a bag of cocaine?
Right. How do you even get it in past the Secret Service?
Right.
I mean, come on, man.
Right.
I mean, there are lots of plausible explanations, but Hunter Biden is one of those plausible potential explanations. Right. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, because of his history, there are real questions being asked about whether he may be responsible. We don't know if he is, not pointing fingers, but it's a possibility given his history.
If you would have told me
What's going on with this White House? Good explanation. We'll take a quick break. 81 million votes on the way out. We'll hit some headlines and a whole lot more right after this.
right now.
I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas. It's bad inflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Two-tier justice system. 2 tiers. One for Biden and one for Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. We live in crazy times in America. Corrupt. All this is politically motivated. Vote them out. Yelling MOB. Move over Biden. Yelling MOB.
That's right. Move over Biden. The song is Witch Hunt by Forgiato Blow. Make sure you're on Apple, Amazon, wherever you download and stream music. I got a bunch of texts over the weekend, people saying that they were deliberately, for their picnics and backyard barbecues, they were playing a whole series of Mailman songs. Said it mostly went over well, but they've got, in some cases, they had liberal neighbors who would like the beat and then hear the lyrics and were kind of looking funny, like 81 million or Witch Hunt. That one is Witch Hunt by Forgiato Blow, which is also doing great right now. Make sure you're downloading. But it's great because people love some patriotic music and they love, I mean, you think about some of the lyrics there with Forgiato and 2 Tiers of Justice. Cocaine in the White House? Could you imagine?
That's going to be a song. It's got to be a song.
That should be a song.
It's got to be
maybe
a song.
Maybe a play on, what was it, Eric Clapton
had
the cocaine
all
song.
right,
we're going to get on that. You got a good idea. I want you to make sure you see that the dance is back. Here's President Trump in South Carolina.
Love it.
I think that's my favorite part of the rally. It's not that there were 50 to 75,000 people. That's awesome. It's that President Trump, they keep saying the twice impeached, the twice indicted. You know, over the weekend they said that Jack Smith, the special counsel, is now thinking about a superseding indictment, and they might add up to 40 more counts onto the first indictment. So what'll that be, like 77? It's like 40 plus 37. And he just keeps going. He's got a different gear.
He's a top trending Billboard artist now, too.
He's like Elvis.
You know, he is like Elvis.
The headlines are sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
There we are. And there's our mature citizen ready for duty with some headlines with some Terrance Bates. Fresh off the fireworks. Got all 10 digits, right? Everything's good?
Yeah. I still got all 10 digits.
Oh, good.
Didn't mess up anything. Didn't mess up anything. And put smiles on my neighbors' faces, even though they were still shooting off fireworks at 2:30 this morning. But we're not going to bring that up. Hopefully it will be over.
You should play 81 million votes for your neighbors, and you can figure out who's who.
Yeah, you're right. I will be able to figure out who's who. Like, people are popping to it, like, oh, even though, most of them probably like rap, so I think they would like all the music anyway. All right, let me get to this morning's headlines. It's a new week with the same old calls for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to be impeached. One of the latest people calling for Mayorkas' removal is Border Patrol Union Vice President Art DeQueto. He tells our friends at Just the News No Noise that a majority of Border Patrol officers actually want Secretary Mayorkas out.
When you start talking about impeachment, though, the problem is this, that you're going to end up having who replace him. At the end of the day, it's the same policies that get continuously are going to be pushed down. But obviously, people need to be held accountable. Right, let's just put it this way. If they're going to lie and say there's no problem, if they're going to lie that the southern border is secure, if they're going to lie and say, hey, everything's under control, well, go ahead and lie and say it isn't under control and I'm trying to fix it. That still would be a lie, but it wouldn't be such a blatant lie, I guess.
In the meantime, there's a sustained push from Republicans on Capitol Hill and on the campaign trail to send U.S. troops to secure the southern border. There's even a bill being proposed in Congress that would formally declare war on Mexican drug cartels, which would essentially give the military the green light to target those cartels. Plus, a new NBC poll finds that Republican primary voters are largely in favor of sending troops to the border in order to stop drugs. Meantime, as most of us are back at work following Independence Day celebrations, a new Gallup poll finds only 4 in 10 embrace the lyrics of the famous song, I'm Proud to Be an American. The Gallup data shows that Republicans are consistently more likely than Democrats and independents to express, quote, extreme pride in being American. Americans 35 and older tend to be the most patriotic. The 39% of extremely proud Americans is up just a tick, though, from last year's record low of 38%. Gallup first started recording the American Pride Survey in 2001. At that time, 55% of U.S. adults were extremely proud to be American. After 9/11, that pride shot up to 70%, but it has since waned. An Independence Day fireworks accident in Gilmer, Texas leaves 1 person dead, 4 injured, and a warehouse destroyed. The fireworks were being prepared for a 4th of July spectacular when they ignited in that warehouse. The state fire marshal is investigating what went wrong, but says the ignition started a significant blaze that destroyed the building. The fireworks display was subsequently canceled. Another deadly fireworks accident happened in Park Township, Michigan on Monday night. 1 person was killed there, 9 others hurt. The explosion left cars and homes damaged, in addition to the physical injuries. That's going to do it for your headlines. These headlines, of course, brought to you by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. And yes, I will soon be a member. All right, let's get you back to
Terrance, we can't wait for that day. We're going to spend, we might call it your maturity week.
Mature? Oh, I get a whole week.
Yeah, well, because we'll be able to bring in experts and gerontology.
Gerontology. Oh, wow. Okay. Not gerontologists. You're going to really take this thing and blow it out.
Get some specialists.
Get some stories.
I mean, think about how much you complain about aches and pains and you're not even 50 yet. I mean, this is going to be a thing for you. You're going to be walking around.
Well, Sonny, I'm not going to appreciate you bringing up my age, Sonny. Not going to appreciate that.
Well, talking about age, in all seriousness, I got RD in the chat saying, talk about Donald Trump's stamina. I mean, we make fun about the dance and he does it little. But this guy is just turned 77, right? And Biden's 80 and can barely get through a speech. And, we were talking when we were at Bedminster about if these guys get into a ring and they got like a 90-minute debate, how is Biden going to survive 90 minutes? I mean, for real,
He's going to literally stumble through it. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but given what we've seen over the past several months, past couple of years, he would stumble through a 90-minute debate. It would be incoherent at times, and he would
with help from the moderator from the mainstream media, who, if you remember in 2020, whenever Biden was stumbling and Trump was punching, we got to go to another topic. We're not talking about that. I remember that one debate where I think it was Chris Wallace, and basically Trump was pounding him on laptop and pounding him on the payments. And there was a payment, former Russian mayor's wife or something, and money from Russia. That's not relevant to this. And now we find out, Karyn, all of this is relevant.
We're a long way from 2020. Look at how much has happened in the past 2 years. Look at everything that transpired. Now there's cocaine in the White House. I mean, that's how far we've come at this point.
Let's talk about that, because we're going to have Carolyn Ryan in a couple of minutes really lay out all the details. But I was following Gateway Pundit over the weekend when I first heard about this. We'll put it up. Secret Service confirming Gateway Pundit's report, because they had this initial report saying hazmat teams are at the White House. There's some powdery substance. And I thought, oh gosh, here we go. I remember covering the White House many years ago when you had anthrax attacks and whatnot. And then I see Gateway Pundit guys saying it's cocaine. And there's even like a 911 call that's out there of the dispatch of the D.C. fire crew. And Miranda Devine from the New York Post put that up. And the dispatch call shows that, that it was there. And she notes the first son, Hunter Biden, Karyn, 53 years old, acknowledged a prior addiction to crack cocaine, was on the White House grounds Friday before heading off to Camp David with his father for the holiday weekend. And the Congressman Jim Banks said it best. They never found cocaine in the Trump White House. Your thoughts?
I have so many thoughts. And then one of my thoughts is that I hope they don't use this to get off Hunter easier, because now they say, oh, yeah, no, it was his. He acknowledges he has a problem. We're going to send him to Malibu for 3 years, and let's forget about the laptop.
Right before the court date on the plea deal. Right, Terrance? And you put it all together. Well, he didn't pay his taxes. He's got this gun
but he
thing.
was on drugs. And not that, of course, your heart goes out to somebody that has an addiction and all of that. But, we've seen this White House skew the narrative so many times. Will this be something that they'll try to use for political advantage?
Yes, or Terrance, what if it's a very senior White House aide and they've been covering up a whole other scandal? We haven't really contemplated that.
Yeah, it could be anything. We don't know the answers, but there are questions, and there are fair questions to be raised simply because of certain people's histories. Hunter in particular, because of his history with drugs. And let's just be honest. If this were any other family member and this weren't a situation involving the White House, if in our own homes we had a brother or sister who we know has been on drugs and drugs happen to turn up in our house, we immediately would turn our focus to that brother or sister just because his or her history. Not necessarily because they did it, but their history makes them more suspicious. Absolutely.
You're right. Go ahead.
But meanwhile, the White House, just so you know, they have a zero tolerance for drug use amongst their interns. You will be required to take a drug test prior to the beginning of the internship. And then if you scroll down a little bit, and there's a ton.
What about
there's a
the
ton of
presidential
information.
son?
Right. I'm sure he probably is. But this is what I'm saying. They're saying they take a serious stance.
Sure.
And here in 2022, there's this whole article about interns who go through the hiring process. So there's a picture of President Biden there about how tough they are on drugs.
Wait, but are you really suggesting that the White House may be espousing something in public that they're not actually following?
Oh, that would be utterly shocking.
I would be shocked. Are you sure?
I don't know.
Is that a possibility?
They're so trustworthy.
Hey, by the way, Terrance, can I just put this up and let you react? Because I saw this over the weekend before they found the cocaine. Like on Saturday, the New York Post had this story. Hunter Biden filmed himself smoking crack behind the wheel, driving 172 miles per hour on his way to Vegas, presumably from California. And the photo, when you zoom out, has, I don't know if it's pot. What is that?
That's
just a crack
that
vial?
looks like crack.
Crack vial. Okay,
like
sorry.
Crack.
I
don't know a lot about drugs.
You seem to know a lot
like
about it.
crack.
I'm just trying to figure it out. No. 172. And this was on his damn laptop.
Wow. A lot of questions. What kind of car goes 172 miles an hour? Apart from the crack, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what kind of car goes that fast. How do you keep that in control and smoke? Yeah, a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Absolutely crazy. Anyway, as I mentioned, Carolyn Ryan's going to dive deep on what we know and don't know about this cocaine scandal at the White House. And we'll get some reaction from the resistance chicks, not just to the coke scandal, but what's going on with Sound of Freedom. They saw it and are going to have a live report right after this.
I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas. It's Biden inflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass.
Put down Hunter's crack pipe. Boy, I sent that to Carrie Lake yesterday. I said, now more than ever. She put it on True Social.
It's a real thing.
And my phone was blowing up because she mentioned, for hours, literally hours, because people were saying, can you believe they found cocaine in the White House? You cannot make this stuff up.
You can't make this up. This is incredible.
So, not feeling too well, but went out on a bender over the 4th of July. I know there's nobody around it's like that, but you should check in with the wellness company. They have some actual legal supplements like Spike Support right there in the middle, which I took, and then Dr. McCullough's Heart and Healthy Muscle Formula on the left, which I just took a few moments ago during the break when Karen reminded me I had not done it yet. Go to twc.health/RAV. And use that promo code, get 10% off. Here's a Spike Support if you haven't.
Thanks. I actually did. I took it this morning. I was very responsible today.
Very responsible. There's the Spike proteins, something a lot of people are dealing with, not feeling 100% coming out of COVID. This is something that obviously a lot of people are just dealing with that feeling, and they want to build their immunity, and there's a safe way to do it with these supplements. And you can also check out the Wellness Company because they're putting together brick-and-mortar clinics. They do some telehealth right now. Folks like Dr. McCullough who actually follow the science, imagine that, and are trying to bring your medical freedom back.
Imagine that.
Well, we were told that they were following the science, and for years they were not actually doing. They were lying. They were not doing that, and they were lying about it. Imagine that, the government lying. In the meantime, let's bring in our friend Carolyn Ryan. As I mentioned, we gave her an odd assignment in some way. She's normally focusing on all kinds of very interesting stories, and now all of a sudden she's got to figure out cocaine showed up at the White House. What in the world is going on? Carolyn, good morning.
That's a great question. Good morning. A lot of people will remember first we had topless transgender activists on the South Lawn. Now we've got cocaine in the West Wing. What on earth will surface next at this White House under this Joe Biden administration? Many of us, unfortunately, were not surprised to learn that a Secret Service agent found a white powdery substance on Sunday night during a routine sweep of the premises. The dispatch audio indicates it was found in the library. However, Secret Service officials have since corrected that initial report to various journalists, saying the substance was actually found in a, quote, work area in the West Wing. I think that'll all really matter in the weeks to come as this investigation gets underway. But there was a brief evacuation while a hazmat team responded. The substance tested positive for cocaine, so we do know that. And a Secret Service spokesman tells the Washington Post, however, that more tests will be needed to confirm that finding. Now, the Bidens, they were not in Washington, D.C. at the time of the incident, but the first son, 53-year-old Hunter Biden, who we all know has a well-known, well-documented prior addiction to crack cocaine. He was at the White House just 2 days prior on Friday before the family jetted off to Camp David for the long holiday weekend, leading some to believe the drugs belonged to Hunter Biden. Others have a different theory. A guy by the name of Chris Jackson, a Biden ally and self-proclaimed strategist, is suggesting Hunter Biden sue the hell out of everyone who insinuates the drugs were his. Jackson's theory is that the library, where the cocaine was initially thought to have been found, is part of the White House tour, and maybe a tourist, dropped it or planted it. Now, apparently, there is an investigation underway to get to the bottom of all of this. The Bidens did return to Washington, D.C. yesterday from their long holiday weekend at Camp David. So far, we are unaware of any official comment by this White House. I'm sure they will be asked about it at the first opportunity, guys. That's what we know so far.
No doubt about it. I mean, the idea that they were planted by someone on a White House tour, been on those tours and then family. And you, as Karen mentioned earlier, you've got to go through magnetometers and Secret Service. There would be an epic failure if someone smuggled drugs, a hard drug like cocaine, not just some random pill or something, through the system. And then dumped it in the White House library to set somebody else up. I mean, that's like the wackiest theory to me.
It sounds really wacky.
It's just... You framed it perfectly. We had the trans, taking the clothes off on the lawn, and people were like, oh, my God, how low can it go? And now they're finding cocaine in the West Wing in a work area.
Yeah, and let's not pretend like that those areas that are accessible to the public are not riddled with every nook and cranny with security cameras. I mean, this investigation really shouldn't take too long to get to the bottom of it. Of course, we know with this administration, these investigations can get dragged out for way too long. We may never get the answers to these questions.
Yeah.
They can, and as long as they can use the guys under investigation, they can stonewall questions into this. They can drag it out as long as they want.
Yeah, it shouldn't take long to find out the Supreme Court leaker, right? Oh, wait, that was over a year ago.
Yeah, and I mean, look how they used the facial recognition when they wanted the people that were at the Capitol on January 6th. Look how quick they were to round them all up.
But I think most people know with this story in particular, though, I mean, they can drag it out all they want. People are going to make their insinuations. They're going to make their educated guesses. And I think this one will stick with this White House that it was most likely Hunter Biden.
There you go. Carol and Ryan, appreciate your reporting. We'll get back to you soon. In the meantime, let's bring in the Resistance Chicks. You see them this time every Wednesday morning. I'm always looking for a more serious topic to raise with you both. But I'm always stuck with the wackiest story of the day. Cocaine in the White House.
Story.
Who could it be? I can't imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
It's Colonel Mustard in the library with the crack cocaine. There is no one that I can think of that would have access to the White House that would be irresponsible enough to lose a little bag of coke than Hunter Biden. I can't literally anyone else invited to the White House. So it's either planted or Hunter dropped it. The idea that it's now changed. First we found it in such and such, and then it switches to where we found it because maybe it's more convenient to have found it in a workplace because Hunter wasn't in the workplace. I don't know. Just wondering.
Wild. I don't even know what else to say. Like, I can't believe we're living in this world. This is crazy town.
It's like when Carrie Lake says in the song, we're living on planet crazy. And she said, put down Hunter's crack pipe right now. Put up C10, guys. Vince posted this. Topless transgender on the lawn of the White House. Cocaine inside the White House. The low-life Biden family has turned the People's House into a strip club. If we can jump ahead to C12, I want to put this out there, and then we'll turn to Sound of Freedom, which is a more serious topic, an important topic. This is important as well. Biden tells White House aides to not acknowledge his 7th grandchild. This is a New York Post. Can you believe this? White House aides have now been instructed by the Bidens that they have 6 grandkids, and when they talk to reporters and whatnot, leave out disgraced son Hunter's tot down there in Arkansas. And you've got an author quote in there saying this is gross. Who does this?
Well,
I mean, there's been a paternity test, and they are saying we're not going to acknowledge this child. Go ahead.
They would like to have a transgender topless people on the White House lawn, but they don't want to admit that Hunter has a thing with topless people. Okay?
Yeah, there you go.
Hunter has a thing with strippers. I mean, you guys, he has a thing with strippers and he records himself with it. Did you see the thing that posted where he was another video where he's recording himself going 172 miles an hour with cocaine?
We just talked about it. Yeah.
Okay, this is insane world. And so they want us to believe that they're an upstanding family. But their son has a child with a stripper now. God bless her soul. She's trying to raise that little girl. She wanted to give that little girl the Biden last name. Well, it's fitting.
They won't give it.
Okay, they will not
they won't give it.
They're literally the opposite world. They are the white trash in the White House.
She said it. I wasn't going to say it.
And they want us to believe that they're not. It's absolutely insane. And then The View has the nerve to say that Joe Biden's just a really good dad. He just loves his son Hunter through his addiction problems. No. You created it and you helped fund it and you made money off of it. It's upside down world.
It's sick, and it's continuing. And then are they going to use this? I brought this up earlier. Are they going to use this as an excuse now? Oh, he has a drug problem. Yeah. Now he doesn't need to be accountable for all of these things that he's done because he's been under the influence, and now all of the charges and everything goes away. Wouldn't that be convenient?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And tell James Comer, stop prying. My son's in rehab. No more investigation. Real quick, and we'll get to Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, it's emotional. You don't want to mess with this 50-however-old guy. He's just really, he's like an 18-year-old drug addict. He just really is. He's the smartest guy I know, says Joe. Yeah.
Says Joe. All right, let's play a quick clip. This is the trailer for Sound of Freedom. You saw it. You can talk about it. Watch.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
And there you go.
It is the fastest growing international
And it just came out, as you saw on the 4th. You saw it. Talk about the magic of this movie.
It's absolutely amazing, but I will say this does go along with the Bidens, because on that laptop, we don't know how old those girls were. We do know that the largest sex trafficking network is in Ukraine, or one of the largest is in Ukraine. We do know that Hunter Biden has ties, and a lot of these girls are trafficked victims. And so that there is a tie there to the Bidens. But to this movie, please, everyone go see it. Don't say it's too hard for you.
No, I was very surprised. They took it right to the edge where you're like, please don't go any farther. And they could have been an X-rated film. And instead they kept it very classy. And we invited people from the street to come in. We had like 140 people.
We filled a whole
the
theater. And I tell you what, half the theater were men. And I saw the man in front of me was a Mohawk guy shaking the entire movie and just crying. Wow. And people who came out of the movie, I will say this: if you can, pray afterward.
Get a group of people. It's a very good. We gathered together. We filmed it. We recorded it. It is a heavy film. Pray, and I'm telling you guys, this film is going to change the landscape for sex trafficking. We're taking back this narrative.
Yes, please go see it.
That's great. And save a lot of lives. Wow. And that is going to have a real impact, and it already is. Over 20 million in ticket sales already.
Yes.
Ladies, we appreciate your insight, especially on this important movie. We'll take a quick break. Carrie Lake on the way out. We're back with what in the world is happening in France, and could it happen in America next, right after this.
Right now. I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas. It's Biden inflation across the nation. 81 million votes my ass.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. We live in crazy times in America. Corrupt. All this is politically motivated. Vote them out. Yelling MOB. Move over, Biden. Yelling MOB. Move over.
There it is. Witch Hunt from Forgiato Blow. Check it out. Goes perfectly with Hakuna Matata. No worries for the rest of your days.
No worries. There's a witch hunt going on. I think we might have to worry.
Well, you're the one who started Hakuna Matata.
I did. Now we've got witch hunt and Hakuna Matata
we got
together.
Cocaine in the White House.
There
are worries.
There's some worries.
But maybe just, take it all in stride.
Maybe.
That's the idea.
Maybe.
In the meantime, let's get to Stay Awake, Not Woke. This is where we talk about simply the best coffee. Beard Vet. Go to beardvet.com. Use that promo code RAP for 10% off. Patriotic company giving back to great veterans causes. And also about to unveil a new energy drink. There's a lot of chatter about it, and it's going to be awesome. So go to beardvet.com. Get in early on that. Make sure in terms of the coffee, you're not getting any burnt soy or liberal tears from Starbucks or any of the other liberal coffee companies, but they're expanding into energy drinks, and I'm sure it's just the beginning.
I'm excited about this energy drink thing.
Yeah.
When is this happening soon?
I was reading up on it, and it's like a concentrate, and you get a bottle with like a pump. And maybe about 64 ounces, I think that's in the back of my mind, and you use 1 or 2 pumps and then put in whatever you want, whether it's water or club soda, or, and then mix it up, and it's got all kinds of great ingredients.
Sparkling water. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's like one of those great machines. So in any event, we'll have that on set soon enough, and make sure that you're checking out beardvet.com, and they're standing up to the woke agenda.
Love it.
And think about what's happening in France. So there's a lot of commentary about this, and there should be, because they kept saying, oh, it's no big deal that they're letting in all these illegal immigrants. Oh, it's no big deal what's going on. And guess what? Gateway Pundit was all over it all weekend long. Civil war. Open civil war, over 1,000 arrests, 45,000 security forces deployed, 27 officers were injured in just one night. The President Macron, obviously completely under fire. Put up from Benny Johnson. Historic buildings in France that survived bombardment in World War II, and you can see it on the right, cannot survive the cultural enrichment, in quotes, look at this, of open borders. And Karyn, this is what's been going on in France. And people have been looking the other way for years, except for one man who I'll get to in a minute. But they've had an open borders policy. And I remember being in Europe a few years ago, and Nigel Farage told me, when you take your family over to France, do not wander around Paris. I said, come on, man. Like, I thought he was exaggerating. And he said, they've had open borders for years, Ed. And Nigel was looking me dead in the eye just like 3 years ago. And he said, mark my words, it's already bad. He said, it's just going to completely explode. And it was the open border policy. And he said, you guys have it in America. And Nigel's been a big supporter of President Trump, has spoken openly about this. And he said, it's coming to France. And here we are.
And the mainstream media ignored this until it got so bad that they had to acknowledge it.
And I mentioned one man. It wasn't Nigel Farage. He was talking about it. But look at this clip. So let me get the year right. This is 2016. And a man named Donald J. Trump said, look out, France is going to be gone. Watch.
I wouldn't go to France. I wouldn't go to France because France is no longer France. France is no longer France. They won't like me for saying that. France is no longer France. And this world better be very careful, and they better get very tough and very smart.
Terrance, sounds like Trump was right. They better get tough. And that was around 2016. I think it was around 2018, 2019. I was talking to Nigel Farage, and he went further. And there was Trump 7 years ago saying we're losing France.
Yeah, and I mean, the situation is critical in France, and it seems like the government there is making all kinds of excuses, saying, oh, race isn't an issue here. All of this kind of exploded as the result of a North African kid, a 17-year-old being shot, and that, of course, led to, at this point, almost a week of protests, really violent protests. And it seems like the French government has kind of turned its head not just to the immigration situation, but also the cultural situation there in that country.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been crazy.
Yeah, just insane. I mean, you see these burning buildings and, people dying. I mean, this is awful.
Nonstop. Let's get to some real American voices, shall we? This is some Getter and True Social. Here we go. Carly Bonet, it's official. Sugar Henry. Terrance, what do you think?
That's gangsta. With an A. With an A.
Carly Bonet, shout out. I saw it over the weekend. I said I got to put that on.
I love that one.
Next
I love that
you.
one. Yeah, we got Power Down Media. Let's see what we got here. Wow, American Sunrise. Look how beautiful that is.
Isn't
Look
that
at the
sweet?
lighthouse. That's gorgeous.
The little lighthouse. There you go. We love the real American voices. Terrance, you got next.
All right, so here we go. This one says, I just want to say Ed, Karyn, Terrance have amazing chemistry. Thank you so much for that. That, along with other things, is why the show is so good. I've watched you from your very first episode. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that gets up early with us.
How sweet is that from True Social?
So
and there they
nice.
are. You love it, but let's put it up. Here you go, on the way out. What will be our next hit?
Yay, yay.
This is what we do. We're pouring out the champagne. There's so much champagne coming in, we're just pouring it out. We're pouring it out for our dead homies.
It's called popping bottles, Ed.
You pour it out for the dead homies. That's what you do. Quick break. We're back.
DOJ, yeah, always on a witch hunt. The deep state's always on.
To us, the big star would be the real American voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Patriots, welcome back to this American Sunrise.
Live from West Palm Beach.
There you go. Oh, something fell.
And live from our Denver, Colorado studios. Good Wednesday morning. Feels like a Monday, but it is Wednesday. Guys, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, forgive me. I'm just pouring one out for my dead homies.
Wow.
Karyn never heard that phrase.
I never heard that phrase before. I don't know if
you
the
knew
chat.
About it. You were
I mean,
laughing.
everybody else seems to know about it on this cast except for me.
I see. I'm going to have to send you some rap songs that reference pouring one out for the homies. Yes, it's a thing, Karyn. It is a thing.
It's a thing.
But see,
it's all right.
And you're the most bona fide gangster of all of us. Like Ed,
That's what I thought.
Ed is picture gangster. I just try to act gangster every now and then. But you're the most bona fide gangster. You should know this.
The most bona fide.
Like the original, the OG Jersey gangster.
Right. So what happened? You don't know what this is?
I didn't know about this.
All right. So I want you to know about this. Joey Chestnut. Have you ever watched this hot dog eating contest, Coney Island?
I have in the past.
But look at this. Some animal rights activist came up and he choked him out.
And he still won, didn't he?
And he's still eating the hot dog.
Oh, wow.
They broadcast this live on like ESPN. He like choked him out. I was like, don't get in the way of this. And that was last year's competition, and people were showing it again. And then he comes out yesterday and slammed down 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes. 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ew.
How does a guy guy doing? He's not even that fat.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like
he trains himself.
He trains himself and all of that, but he's not a big guy. You know, just regular frame guy, and he's able to do that. Like I'm done at 3, and I'm. You know, I'm big bone. I'm big bone. But three is all I can get down. Like 62 in 10 minutes. It's crazy.
But what about him taking out the animal rights activists? You gotta love that.
That was pretty epic.
Yeah, we gotta like that.
Even with how many hot dogs had he eaten at that point? Do we know how far?
Right. Well, that was
into the
mid, and he still won last year in the middle of it. So it's great. Let's send a shout out to a real American voice there in Idaho, Tim Lindsay, Idaho Hot Springs trip. Cigar. Sorry, forgot my real America's voice hat, Ed. It looks good. It looks like he's got some sort of a cowboy hat.
Nice.
A little, you know what? And he's keeping the sun out of his eyes, relatively so.
Oh wow.
Okay. He's having a good time.
Love it.
He's getting close to nature.
Yeah, he was au natural there for a little bit.
For a little bit.
That was an interesting picture. Okay, bro. Okay.
There you go. All right. Happy Independence Day, right? A little freedom. In the meantime, Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General in Kentucky, backed by Donald J. Trump, won that Republican primary. When I'm governor, I'm going to designate the entire month of July as American Pride Month, guys. We'll celebrate America, its founding fathers, and the core pillars of freedom, liberty, and democracy all month long. America is fundamentally a force for good in the world, despite what Andy Beshear, remember he's a Democrat governor, and his supporters think. Happy 4th, everyone. So he is saying American Pride Month. Our friend George Colella at Born to Ride for 45, he wants to just call it simply Patriot Month.
Yeah, you know, Terrance brought this up. Terrance said American Pride on the show a while ago. He wanted to do that. Terrance was right. Terrance came up with this.
There you go.
Well, I won't say I came up with it. I've gotten the idea from other people, but I do think it's a great idea. A way for us as a country to just celebrate each other, celebrate our existence and what this country stands for. Why not? We celebrate everything else. Why not celebrate and come together as a community? What better thing can bring an entire country together than to celebrate a common cause?
That's right. You think the left will go for it? They don't want to celebrate. I mean, you had this poll last hour about whether people are proud to be Americans.
Right. Yeah.
And I've jotted down, when you looked inside the poll among young people, it was among young Republicans, like 18 to 25, 42%, right? Mm-hmm. And among young Democrats, 18 to 25, 12% were proud to be American. There you go. And look at on the far right, thanks guys, 12% of young Democrats were proud to be American. And I think it's amazing that among young Republicans, 18 to 34, I said 18 to 34, 42%, Karen, of young Republicans. And then you see much bigger numbers among adults, but I'm cheered by the young people.
Yeah, look at the difference, and look just the dramatic difference. I need to know more. I would like to go down a rabbit hole, and this is it the parents. What's the factor here? Why are they so much more connected? I mean, is it the conservative values? Maybe it's God.
God, yeah.
Maybe it's God.
Terrance, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and that's one of the things that also struck me is that among young Americans in particular, the numbers were so low. Republicans in general, much more patriotic than the other two sectors, the independents and Democrats. But I was surprised, quite honestly, and a little disheartened that among such young Americans, the 18-year-old segment, that so few are patriotic. Hopefully they will develop some patriotism, or their patriotism will grow over the years. But if that continues for that age range as they get older, that really doesn't signal well for the country.
No, it doesn't. I tell you, there were about up to 75,000 patriotic Americans in Pickens, South Carolina on Saturday. They wouldn't even let Donald Trump speak when he first took the stage. Watch.
Wow, thank you very much. That's a big crowd of people. Well, hello, Pickens, and hello to South Carolina. It's great to be with you. We've had great success together. I don't know if you know it, but those crowds are going all the way back into whatever the hell street you have back there. Whatever that street is, they've passed it. There's nowhere else I'd rather be to kick off the 4th of July weekend than right here on Main Street with thousands of proud, hardworking South Carolina patriots who believe in God, family, and country. Do we all believe in God, family, and country? I think
so. Pretty awesome.
I love that roar of that crowd. Just like gives you goosebumps.
And the White House is rushing Joe Biden to that same state on Thursday.
Yeah, good luck. I wonder how that goes. I really am curious to see how it goes, particularly on the heels of such a major Donald Trump rally. I'm curious to see what kind of response President Biden gets and where he ultimately will go.
Usually he just goes to some gymnasium with 12 people.
Right. And will he fall down the stairs? Will there be ice cream? I mean, these are the questions you have to ask yourself.
There will be ice cream, I'll guarantee. But honestly, I'm now thinking about it as you say that. We haven't seen Joe Biden in any setting anywhere close to this, 50 to 75,000. We haven't seen him with 5,000 people.
No.
But 81 million votes.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a song.
And to take over like an entire town. Again, it's a small town. Picton, South Carolina is not a huge town, but he probably quadrupled the population there just with the crowd that he brought.
The police said it was 10 times. Yeah, more than 10.
3,000 people in this town, so a really small number.
Right. So it was 10 to 20 times as many people in the town. Obviously, they came from surrounding communities. Then the left was saying, well, there was already a 4th of July thing going on, and Trump piggybacked.
A 4th of July thing?
People were lined up with Trump shirts, Trump hats, pickup trucks at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 a.m. But they say, no, he was piggybacking on a festival that was already happening. They will come up with anything to tear down his crowd size when, again, Biden can't draw 12 people to Pickens.
Yeah, we're going to see. We'll be reporting on it on Thursday, really probably more Friday because it won't have happened during the show. But we'll see. We're going to find out Thursday.
Well, and then President Trump on Friday is going to be in Iowa. He's doing another event like this. Maybe might not be as big. Might not have the big 4th of July.
Might be bigger, though.
Who knows? We shall see. I want to mention RFK Jr. as well. He continues to gain ground on Joe Biden. Blasted the Biden White House, you see from the Gateway Pundit, after it made this midnight announcement. Didn't want this to pass over the weekends. What are they hiding, he said. Guys, Roger Stone was on Real America's Voice over the weekend talking about this. There were supposed to be JFK assassination records released, and the Biden administration has now stopped it yet again. It goes back to, I think, 1978, JFK records about the assassination. They kept saying, we can't let this information out. So they passed a law eventually, and it was supposed to be released, I think, in 2017, all these records. And President Trump released about 80% of them. A big number. But the three-letter agencies held back about 20%. And he was able to kick the can to the next president. And here we are. And RFK Jr. is saying when they use sources and methods, nobody is alive who is involved in this.
And they cite these national security interests. Like, at what point does that expire? At what point is that no longer a concern?
Terrance, what are they hiding about JFK's assassination? And Roger Stone said that when Donald Trump told him he had to hold 20% of it back, he said there's horrible stuff you won't believe. Can't talk about it, it's classified, but there's horrible stuff.
Right, and I think that's the point. I think the world wants to know what this horrible stuff is that President Trump was alluding to, and obviously the FBI and some of these other, and the administration, the Biden administration in general, doesn't want this information out there. But I'm curious how damning it is, and who is still alive who may have been involved. What are some of the names that are out there that could be, indicted, or not necessarily indicted, but be part of this.
Hold them accountable. RFK Jr. has said in some of these podcasts, the CIA killed my uncle. This is part of the reason they don't want this guy gaining ground. They're scared about what he's saying, not just about vaccines. They call him a crackpot, every other thing, because they want to discount.
And discredit him, absolutely. And we see what happens to Donald Trump if he declassifies documents or he does anything to try to help himself or other people.
Unbelievable. What is the White House thinking on this one? You sent this to me, Karyn, because you were scratching your head. White House wants to block sunlight to save the planet from global warming.
This is a real story. Like, this sounds like a rabbit hole, but it's not. And there are a lot of people going down a rabbit hole with all the Canadian smoke and things that have been going on that seem a little suspicious about what's exactly happening, because what they would do to block the sun is very similar to the conditions that have been created in New York.
And is it sun then causing climate change, not man-made? And maybe we don't have to make all the changes to electric vehicles?
Apparently, if they can do this and they can reduce the temperature for a period of time, they think it's going to have a lasting effect. But this is the people that don't follow the science. So what science are we following here? Really?
And this is also coming from the same people who said the world was going to end like 10 years ago because of climate change and because of climate.
Yeah.
And they now say that if the world reaches like 27 degrees Celsius or like the hottest time ever, that we're going to be like 2 years away from full extinction. All right, man. It seems like the goalpost continues to move. Like it's always
that's all they do.
Yeah, and if they don't get something that works at 6, remember acid rain? I guess acid rain sort of like went away. Remember, we were all so concerned about that, like as kids. Like I was really afraid of acid rain.
You were concerned?
I was worried.
I didn't know that about
I was.
Look at this. The left is big mad at the Supreme Court. You probably saw this over the weekend over student loans, affirmative action. Babylon B has a story. If the useless poor can't pay for my $300,000 diversity and belonging doctorate degree, what good are they, Karyn?
Again, Babylon B hitting the nail on the head, and you almost think, is this really a fake headline? Because this is actually happening.
Devastated.
Yeah.
Supreme Court bans robbing the poor, Terrance. And, it was like, people literally over the weekend, and put it, you want to do the Boston University one? Put up that one. They're crying. All right, let's hear Biden first. Here's Biden explaining the student loan situation. Go ahead.
Mr. President, will you cancel?
You overstepped your authority. Did you overstep your authority?
I think the court misinterpreted the Constitution.
Okay, so he says the Supreme Court misinterpreted the Constitution by saying he does not have the power to wipe out your student loans. You didn't even need to wait for the court. Crazy Nancy Pelosi years ago said on camera, the president doesn't have the power to do this. But then when Biden did, they said, well, we think he has the power now.
Yeah, well, no, because she doesn't remember. Again,
Terrance, it's nuts. And then what is this? Biden a few years ago. So this is Biden in like 2019 explaining how stupid and expensive it would be to wipe out student loans. Watch it for how he's flip-flop on student loans. But I also want you to watch, because if you watch the CNN town hall in 2019, it's a different man. It's only been a few years. You don't agree with what he's saying, but he's a bit more agile. Watch.
But to come along and say you're going to fund a $35, $34, $40 trillion plan in 10 years, $1.7 trillion in student debt will be forgiven for all universities. I can understand. I think we can get to the point we can have 4-year public universities covered. But why should, in fact, these people out here pay for the fact that my kids had a significant debt, but they went to Yale and they went to Penn and they went for incredibly high tuitions? Why should that be free?
See, he was making the case. I had kids who went to Yale and UPenn. Why should poor people pay for that, Terrance? Mm-hmm. And then he becomes president and says, the poor people should pay for that. It doesn't make sense.
Again, I mentioned earlier that the goalpost continues to shift, and it seems like the goalpost on many of these issues continues to shift, just depending on the political trade winds of the time and what seems to be most politically expedient. And to your point, his mental acuity back then seemed much sharper than it is now. Like, it's clear.
He looks like a different man.
Much sharper.
Different men.
But that's what happens. In your 80s, you're diagnosed with whatever condition. Sometimes things move quickly. We've seen him just deteriorate.
It's incredible.
Over the last few years. And how's Hunter's degree working out for him, by the way?
Yeah, the degree
how's that
didn't
working
work out.
Did he pay his student loans?
Wasn't it a degree in art? Oh, no, it wasn't a degree in art.
No, it wasn't. But he's making all this money in art. Look at this. Boston University law students have been encouraged to seek therapy in response to Supreme Court rulings. And look at that. We are not okay. And they have the American flag upside down. Take that on Independence Day weekend.
Yeah. And I mean, whose spoiled kid is that holding that sign?
It's incredible. Well, I tell you, let's skip to E14. Michelle Obama was rage tweeting about affirmative action and student loans. And Benny Johnson and others started digging around on the internet. Where were she and Barack Obama tweeting from, Karyn, about how the poor and middle class were getting screwed by the Supreme Court? A yacht in Greece. So they were with, I think, Tom Hanks and all these other fancy people. That's probably the back of Tom Hanks's head. A nice little wine glass and all that. And they're on a yacht. saying that the Supreme Court is too conservative and it's hurting people over student loans and affirmative action while we sip wine on a yacht.
Oh, the globalist elites on a yacht in Greece.
It must be nice, Terrance.
Yeah, it must be nice. I wouldn't mind being on a yacht somewhere in Greece as well. The affirmative action ruling from the Supreme Court is one that is going to continue to be talked about. And it seems to me the fundamental idea behind that ruling is that we have equitable admissions to college and universities, no matter what race, gender you are, that it's equitable and that you're allowed in based on the merits, and that you're not discriminated against no matter who you are. So hopefully that's the reality.
Most people are twisting it another way. You're saying it right, which is that it should be based on merit. And the left is saying, no, it's got to be based on race because we want affirmative action. And what was happening was that Asian American students, a different minority, were being discriminated against because Harvard and others were trying to say, well, we got too many Asian Americans. Right. And so it was like they were tripping over which group we were going to take care of. And I think your point is the most important, which is what Dr. Martin Luther King said, right? Content of the character, the merit. And affirmative action started out maybe with good intentions. Absolutely. It started going in all different directions.
Yeah, well, now it's just gone extreme left where it doesn't make sense anymore, like everything else, every policy they push.
There just needs to be a system in place, and I don't know the answer, but there needs to be a system in place that ensures that there is no discrimination against anyone. That if you've got the grades, if you've got the portfolio, the background, you're given a fair shot, that you're not discriminated against, no matter who you are.
How about that? That's what America is all about and should be all about. Not perfect, but it should be about merit. It should be about everybody getting a fair shot. But you're absolutely right. These policies went so far screwy, and the left is seeing it tumble down with the Supreme Court changing these policies, and they're freaking out. I think back to the student loans for a second. I mean, this was like a crazy idea in 2016 that Bernie Sanders first started pushing. It was like, this is socialist. You're going to tell a plumber, you've got to use your tax dollars to pay off some rich guy sending his daughter to Yale. It's like, this is nuts. This will never happen in America.
And here we are. Look how quickly they were allowed to open that door to socialism.
And then when the Supreme Court jumps in and brings sanity, they all freak out and say, we need therapy now, Terrance, because this is not fair.
Yeah. Well, given inflation and as much as we're paying for regular everyday things, I need therapy if I have to pay off somebody else's kid's student loan. So I get that idea.
I like that. You're right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and try to drain the swamp. There's a big sale right now at Sea of Mud, an Independence Day sale, 35% off. We'll talk about it right after this. Borgiato Blow, Witch Hunt. Make sure you're downloading and streaming. Apple, Amazon, Spotify.
Yelling MOB, move over by. Yelling MOB, move over by. move over body. Yeah, them Democrats always on a witch hunt. DOJ, yeah,
Always on a witch hunt. Forgiato Blow. Make sure you're downloading and streaming Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. The latest hit. Remarkable song. It's catchy. A lot of people playing it all weekend long.
It's really catchy.
We had them here on American Sunrise Friday. We'll have them back soon. In the meantime, it's time to drain the swamp. This is sponsored, of course, by SeaofMud.com. Normal promo code there. Wait a second. It's being overridden by an Independence Day sale. 35% off. Use the code AmericanMade all week long. Kyle Conforti's trying to blow out some of the inventory because they're moving out of California and going on to the free state of Tennessee. You can see the Ukraine one where Joe likes to, Joe's Laundry Service, where they're laundering all that money through Ukraine. You see the flag colors. So many people put that on their lawn saying, yeah, let's send more tax dollars over to Ukraine. Let's not do America first. Let's make sure that we take care of Ukraine. And I think the folks at Sea of Mud are trying to point out the ridiculousness of that. So make sure you support this great patriotic company at SeaofMud.com.
That's great. Nice soft T-shirts.
There you go. American made. 35% off. Time to stock up. Excuse me. Let's take a look at Hunter Biden, shall we? We've been talking about him. End of the month, he'll go into court in Delaware, and they're signing off on this plea deal, right? Well, it turns out over the weekend it emerged the prosecutor who signed off on the sweetheart tax deal previously worked for his ex-business partner. So this is just more swampiness and more questions, Karyn, being raised about this plea deal. That's the tax part of it. What about the gun charge where, Kodak Black went to jail for 3.5 years, went to federal prison when he faced the same kind of gun charge that Hunter Biden's getting a slap on the wrist for?
How could this prosecutor not recuse himself? That's got to be some sort of an ethics violation, no?
It's Forgiato Blow talking about witch hunt and 2 tiers of justice in America. You're right. How is this even possible? It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's move on to the next one about Bud Light. So remember when the left laughed it off? Yeah, that would be Kid Rock. Pardon me, getting rid of all that Bud Light at the beginning of that scandal. Well, Colin Rugg has the story. I think there's 2 now glass bottling plants that had worked with Bud Light that have closed down because of all the boycotts. And then at the beginning they said, this is not going to matter. Conservatives don't have buying power. And that's right. The Ardag Group closed down 2 plants due to slow sales with Anheuser InBev, which is the old Anheuser-Busch. Over 600 people are out of work because of this, Karyn.
That's a shame, and some of them are probably patriots, hardworking patriots. That's really unfortunate, but
and they're saying the sales are way down, and here's where we are. Let's take a look at the Daily Mail, talking about swamp creatures. Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, now the Transportation Secretary, he said he'd fix the airlines. Well, guess what? Furious passengers were raging all weekend at Pete Buttigieg. They called it a holiday travel flightmare, not a nightmare. 4,000 flights were delayed or canceled. That was one day alone over the weekend. 4th of July plans across the nation in tatters. We were heading to Bedminster, New Jersey on Thursday, was it?
Yes, it was.
And somebody sitting in front of us got the tap saying, we have somebody else who wants this seat.
Yep.
And what did the person say?
$2,500 for that seat. An economy coach seat, $2,500 they got for that.
So this person got $2,500 to not fly.
Incredible.
Because they were so desperate to get other people who had been stuck. When we were waiting, a couple of people recognized us and told us they were stuck, not in the airport, but in the West Palm area.
For
so this was Thursday.
Like 5 days.
One guy on the plane said that he was stuck since Saturday, the previous Saturday, because so many flights were canceled. And they keep saying, well, it's just normal summer travel and whatnot. And a lot of people were saying in this story, no. Actually, it's because they're covering up a lot of problems at the FAA, still the vax mandates, and other problems that Pete Buttigieg won't fix.
And they have a scheduling system with these airlines that a lot of the flight attendants were coming forward and talking about, that really it's like an automated system. They don't have someone that they call into. They have a scheduler, like an automated system.
Like a 1-800 number.
And some of them were on hold for 8 or 9 hours trying to figure out what their next assignment was.
It's crazy. But Mayor Pete's on the case. He's going to fix it eventually. He was absent during some of the supply chain, but maybe he'll fix it. Now, in the meantime, we were just talking about the idiocy of trying to get the poor and middle class to pay off the rich's student loans and how the Supreme Court finally stepped in. This is a little flashback to when Bill Maher called out Bernie Sanders about it. Watch.
Again, this is again why people sometimes, I think, question some of what you're saying. This is a survey, student loan forgiveness recipients. 73% of applicants say they are likely to spend their extra money on non-essential, including vacations, smartphone, drugs, and alcohol. They admitted that to the pollster.
Who is this pollster?
NBC News. 52% they are very likely to buy new clothing. 46% they would use the money for vacation and eat out at restaurants. This is why people have a thing about, I would never call it free money. Oh, I guess I just did. But
well, I mean, let me respond to that in two ways, Bill. You talk about giveaways. Under Trump, the Congress voted for $1 trillion in tax breaks for the richest people in this country and the largest corporations. That's a giveaway. We just increased military spending with very little discussion, I don't know if you know this, by $80 billion. Military industrial complex.
Including the Democrats.
Pardon me?
The Democrats vote for it too.
Then the Democrats voted for it too. Isn't it interesting, though, if you break it down, where Bill Maher was calling them out some time ago, was that we were sold on this, that these folks are so desperately poor because they're struggling with student loans. So let's pay off the loans. So if we, with our tax dollars, write them a check, they should pay off the loans, right?
They're not going to do that.
But
Come
Bill
on.
Maher is saying, I got a poll here saying 58%, whatever the majority say, they're going to take a vacation.
And Bernie Sanders is shocked.
And then he says, which poll is that? Which poll is that? He thought it was Fox or something. He says, NBC News. All right. It's part of the mainstream media.
Did you see how they lower third titled him about his book? It's okay to be angry about capitalism.
Well,
what
that's
this
what he
country
is.
was founded on. It's okay to be angry about what your country was founded on.
Why I actually like Bernie, because he's honest about the ridiculousness.
Straightforward.
He at least says, I'm crazy and I'm for socialism. The other ones, like Biden, pretend they're not for socialism. In any event, AMAC sponsors our economic headlines.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
All right, this is where we check in with our money man. You hear the bell ringing there on Wall Street. The markets are now open. I got to say, Bernie Sanders, I'm not saying I support his policies. I support that he's honest about the policies and will defend them, even if there's no real defense, even if it makes no sense. I mean, there's a great example where Bill Maher, who's liberal, broke it down and said, you're saying let's have this redistribution of wealth and have folks pay for other people's student loans, but they're not even paying off the student loans with the money. They want to go on a trip. They want to go out to dinner. And everybody wants to do these things. But you should, if you're going to steal other people's money, let's be honest about where the money's going. It's not to pay off the student loans. They're going to go spend it on a vacation. That's what they were saying themselves.
No doubt. And exactly, that's a perfect segue to this next economic story for you. The Supreme Court's ruling to block President Biden's student loan forgiveness program may actually end up having a significant impact on the economy overall. That's a concern that economists are raising this morning, as interest on student loans will start accruing again in September and payments will resume in October. Analysts say that many borrowers will have to begin repaying hundreds of dollars in loans each month, which is money that they had been spending elsewhere in the economy for the last 3 years. While the expected pullback in spending on goods and services likely won't make a serious dent in the U.S.'s $26 trillion economy, economists do predict that industries like e-commerce companies, bars, restaurants, and major retailers will feel the pinch of less spending. As central banks in countries like China, India, and Australia begin transitioning to a digital currency, the Federal Reserve has been contemplating the same thing for the U.S. With the digital currency, the government could actually track every single purchase that you make. Officials could even prohibit you from purchasing certain products or even easily freeze or seize part or all of your money. These are some of the reasons concerned Americans reach out to the Birch Gold Group. They really want you to have a physical asset that's independent from the United States dollar. Gold held tax sheltered in a retirement account. Learn if gold is right for you as well. Text the word America to the number 989898 and Birch Gold Group will will send you a free information kit on gold. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of satisfied customers, and countless 5-star reviews, the Birch Gold Group has been helping my listeners from the very beginning. So text the word America to the number 989898 and claim your free information kit on gold from the Birch Gold Group. Because if a central bank digital currency becomes reality, it'll be nice to have some gold on hand to depend on. That's a quick check of your financial and economic headlines. Now, let's get you back to Ed and Karyn.
All right. We mentioned Sound of Freedom last hour. Let's talk about it again. Laura Logan is playing a big role in promoting this film and getting it attention. Outstanding journalist. Headline on the press release, she said that just went out. It was a couple days ago. Sound of Freedom tops $10 million in box office pre-sales. Indie movie from Angel Studio holds the #1 spot on ComScore's hourly grosses. Now, $10 million is just the pre-sales, Karyn. It's overtaken Disney's Indiana Jones. Isn't that say it?
It's incredible. It's just like the Billboard hits and Donald Trump overtaking Taylor Swift. I mean, the American people are speaking. They're saying this is the content we want. And it's not what the mainstream media and the regular narrative is feeding us. It's not the left anymore.
You're right. And it may fit right in with what we're talking about with Bud Light as well. People are rejecting the woke agenda, and you present this film. I mean, think about Disney, the Indiana Jones situation. That's one of several films that have flopped for Disney recently, maybe because people are just rejecting what they're putting out.
Absolutely. And what's more important is that I hope this movie really does raise awareness and makes all of us a little bit more aware so we can keep our eyes open to issues of human and child trafficking. And hopefully some of this money will actually go to help prevent this sort of thing from happening.
Yeah, great idea for it to come out right around Independence Day as well. The launch has been awesome, and it's going to keep on growing, one would suspect. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. You hear Move Over Biden. There you go. Witch Hunt from Forgiato Blow. We're going to hear from Joe Weber in a 60-second sunrise right after this.
Joe Biden always getting away with murder. Boy, you ain't 45, you the Chinese version. So our country.
There There you go. Witch Hunt for Forgiato Blow. Download, stream right now. Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. It's doing fabulous, and a lot of great Patriots downloading, streaming all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 Tiers of Justice is what it's about. Forgiato Blow doing a great job. You can download it, stream it right now. In the meantime, let's get to a 60-second sunrise. Yeah, this is where we check in with Just the News, justthenews.com. Our buddy Joe Weber. Joe, good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I know there were high hopes of reforming that whole FISA system, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, but a lot of Republicans outraged over what we read in the Durham report and want to see real accountability. What's going on?
Yes, good morning. Yeah, to be sure, there was a lot of bipartisan support on Capitol Hill for this, but the Durham report really blew it up. And if you take a look at it, even the special counsel before that, Robert Mueller, so did his. So what's happening here? The deadline is fast approaching. It's a December deadline. Congress is still out of session, by the way, and won't be back until next week. Now, this FISA law, the 702 section that allows for warrantless surveillance on people outside of the United States, seems like a good idea, at least among the intelligence community, and the Biden administration is behind it. But like we talked about before, the 2 special counsel reports really sort of shined a light on some of the abuses. The biggest one, I think, was the one with Carter Page, the former Trump assistant, campaign assistant, who, when the courts found out, the FBI even acknowledged that the FBI lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, doctored an email to go to that secret court to get that warrantless report. And that's really one of the most glaring ones. We don't really know where this is all going to go, but I can tell you Jim Jordan, who the Judiciary Committee, it's going to have to get past him first, and this is what he said. This Congress needs to change the 702 program relative to the FBI and to the use of appropriations policies that will help them get what they need.
Yeah, Jim Jordan's been quite the contender.
Right. He's taken it on. I would argue as well that, just as big was the fact that James Comey was running the FBI and was signing those warrants to the FISA court. He and McCabe and others, and the leadership at the FBI is my point, were certifying to this FISA court that they had intelligence backing up the need to wiretap Carter Page, to dig in here. And they've since acknowledged that they didn't really have that, but they did it to get Trump. And they have not been held accountable for, let's just say it, they lied to a federal court.
Yeah, one final point here. If we remember the Inspector General, the FBI or Justice Department Inspector General Horowitz, in his report, acknowledged all the problems with the FISA court and the surveillance warrant, but argued that it wasn't politically motivated. But nevertheless, they have, and he's also argued in the case to try to get it renewed, is that they've cleaned up a lot of this, but really kind of yet to be seen.
Yep. Well, we'll see. I hope they finally clean it up. Joe Weber, appreciate you. Make sure you're checking out Just the News, justthenews.com all day long. And then watching Just the News No Noise, 6 p.m. Eastern with John and Amanda. In the meantime, let's bring in our buddy Terrance Bates for some headlines. Terrance, good morning again.
Ed and Karen, good morning. From Move Over Biden to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas, one is a hit song, the other has a growing chorus of people calling for Mayorkas' removal. One of the latest people calling for that removal is Border Patrol Union Vice President Art Del Cueto. He tells our friends at Just the News No Noise that a majority of Border Patrol officers want Secretary Mayorkas out.
When you start talking about impeachment, though, the problem is this, that you're going to end up having who replace him. At the end of the day, it's the same policies that get continuous. They're going to be pushed down. But obviously, people need to be held accountable. Right, let's just put it this way. If they're going to lie and say there's no problem, if they're going to lie that the southern border is secure, if they're going to lie and say, hey, everything's under control, well, go ahead and lie and say it isn't under control and I'm trying to fix it. That still would be a lie, but it wouldn't be such a blatant lie, I guess.
There's a sustained push from Republicans on Capitol Hill and on the campaign trail to send U.S. troops to secure the southern border. There's even a bill being proposed in Congress that would formally declare war on Mexican drug cartels, which would essentially give the military the green light to target those cartels. Plus, a new NBC poll finds that Republican primary voters are largely in favor of sending troops to the border in order to stop the drug trade. Meantime, as most of us are back at work following Independence Day celebrations, a new Gallup poll finds that only 4 in 10 Americans embrace the lyrics of that famous song, "I'm Proud to Be an American." The Gallup data shows that Republicans are consistently more likely than Democrats and independents to express, quote, extreme pride in being American. Americans 35 and older tend to be the most patriotic. The 39% of extremely proud Americans is actually up just a tick, though, from last year's record low of 38%. Gallup first started recording the American Pride survey in 2001. At that time, 55% of U.S. adults were extremely proud to be American. After 9/11, that pride shot up to 70%, but as you can see, it has since waned. Well, the big talker of the day, the West Wing of the White House will be brimming with side eyes and suspicion as staffers get back to work after the Washington Fire Department confirms a white substance found at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue near the executive mansion where President Biden lives is in fact cocaine. That's right, cocaine found at the White House. Unbelievable. The world is watching to see what the Secret Service investigation into the drugs turns up, or if the case will just be swept under the rug. The cocaine was reportedly found during a routine search of the area over the weekend. It forced a precautionary closure of the West Wing while Secret Service agents investigated. President Biden and his family were at Camp David at the time, and they didn't return to the White House until Tuesday morning. However, given Hunter Biden's history with drugs, serious questions are being raised about the possibility that he may be responsible for those drugs. Again, at this point, no confirmation. There may never be confirmation if, in fact, he is responsible. But again, it is a fair question to be asked, and a lot of people may be giving him the side eye the next time he comes to the White House, Ed and Karen.
That's right. We'll see who among the White House staff or some high official as well. I mean, this happened in a sensitive area of the White House. A very bizarre story, but we've seen bizarre things from this White House, and I suspect we'll see more of it in the days ahead. Terrance, appreciate you as always. In the meantime, let's get to a segment we like to call 2024 is Getting Saucy. Yeah, this is sponsored by Red State Barbecue. Go to redstatebbq.com. Use that promo code RAV10 for 10% off. Don't just take it from us. Look at this from one of our viewers. OMG, we are sold. This is from Angel Jeep. This has the most amazing flavor, a slight tang. Cannot eat the wings fast enough, Karen. Are you taking a bow? This is your favorite?
This is my favorite. I'm so excited to see this.
And they say we let the rest.
South Carolina mustard.
That's right, the South Carolina mustard. They had the bird rub as well on the chicken, and then dressed it with the South Carolina mustard sauce. Happy 4th of July. Go buy some Red State Barbecue. Your summer will thank you. Karen, Terrance, Ed, and Red State as well tagged. Your summer will thank you. And Karen will thank you as well. She gets a nickel for each bottle of South Carolina mustard. Is that the deal?
I wish.
They told me at one point that there was an entire warehouse where there was no South Carolina. There was a dent in the South Carolina mustard because you endorsed it.
But it's that good.
But you didn't get a nickel.
It should be. I did not.
But you should make sure that your family is enjoying it this summer. Your summer, as you saw, will thank you. 2024 is getting saucy. Look at this one. With the cocaine in the White House. I just want to mention this one more time. This is Simon Atiba, who we talked to back at CPAC in Washington. And he found this contrast. So as they found cocaine in the White House over the weekend, Biden issued a statement deploring gun violence all across America. Quote, over the last few days, our nation has once again endured a wave of tragic and senseless shootings in communities all across America. Today, Jill and I grieve for those who have lost their lives in our nation. As we celebrate Independence Day, we pray for the day when our communities will be free from gun violence. And it goes on and on and on, and it's cackling Kamala with Joe. And Simon was trying to make the point, I think, that, they want to talk about gun violence. They don't want to talk about drugs.
Remember the time that Hunter Biden threw the gun away?
Yes.
And was,
and he's
smoking
getting a
crack
slap
cocaine
on the wrist.
Driving his car at 170 miles an hour.
He left the gun in a trash can. A child or anyone could have gotten it.
Near a school.
And he lied on a federal form, which is why he ended up with this plea bargain, this federal charge, saying he didn't do drugs. And here we are. In the meantime, I want to keep moving on to this one. President's crowd in South Carolina. He said the horror show with Joe Biden is going to end soon. Watch this.
We are not going to allow this horror to continue 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hard-working patriots like you who built this country, and it is hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country. 2024 is our final battle. With your support, this primary, we are going to finish what we started. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick and very sick political class that hates our country. And we will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Biden. And we will drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. once and for all.
Very interesting. He laid it all on the line, Karyn, and we'll put this up. Meanwhile, Ron DeSantis, sadly for him, still far, far behind. Don't take it from us. This is from Steve Cortez, who left the Trump camp to go to the DeSantis camp. He was on a Twitter Spaces event and said, quote, "We are way behind."
It's time to just bow out. Bye-bye.
There was another story saying that part of the problem is that when DeSantis goes somewhere, it gets worse. And that they may have to hide the candidate for a while, push his policies and hide the... When you're hiding the candidate, it's not going well.
Can't compete.
Witch Hunt from Forgiato Blow. Make sure you're downloading and streaming Apple, Amazon, Spotify. Quick break. We're back with Sunny Side Up.
The deep state's always on a witch hunt. The FBI is always on a witch hunt. Yelling MOB, move over Biden. 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 Yeah, them Democrats always on a witch hunt. DOJ, yeah, always on a witch hunt. The deep state
always on a witch hunt.
This guy took the beer to pour it out for his homies.
Oh, you're picking up on that now?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
pouring it out for the homies.
Yeah?
That's what it means.
I haven't heard that phrase. So you want to...
I don't know. I just learned it today on this show. It's all I got. Where's
You got to go back on the app and watch last hour. See, I'm going to teach you these things. There I am, pouring one out for our dead homies. Sug Henry, Mailman Media. Make sure you go to mailmanmediamusic.com. This is already another hit. Forgiato Blow gets the credit. What a great artist, and we're going to be hearing a lot more from him in the days ahead.
Yeah, we definitely are.
In all seriousness. Now it's time to spill some tea. And I've never done this before, but we have some breaking news from Artillery Tea Company. I came back from Bedminster with a note from Mike Britton. Ed, this is a new blend of ours, our most requested one by far. Can you please announce its release on the show ASAP, as soon as possible?
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know what's funny? It's almost like MOB. Move over Biden. It's the MOAB, Morning MOAB from Artillery Tea Co. And it's decaffeinated version of black tea. So I guess you're getting, the impact of the black tea. You get
the
some
flavor.
because even when it's decaf, there's some caffeine in it. Decaf coffee's got a little caffeine, but the flavor so fragrant, so awesome. It's gonna, now I'm not gonna be able to do it. There it is. Oh, there it is. Popped out. Look at that.
There you go.
It's simply amazing. This tea
smells really
is
good.
outstanding. Had a tickle in my throat over the weekend, so I'm going to have some after the show. This is great. The all-natural bags, 2 cups of tea for each bag. And then the idea that over the summer you brew it and then you ice it, I think is fabulous as well. Because sometimes I do iced coffee.
This would be really good iced.
Iced tea is a little less harsh, tastes great. So some breaking news right there from Mike Britton telling the world now the world knows that the Morning MOAB is live. I guess you go to Artillery Tea Co. Use that promo code RAP, and you're going to get the 10% off.
You should pour some out for the dead homies.
I will be pouring out some Artillery iced tea for my dead homies later today. In the meantime, we were talking about the Supreme Court decision, how the left went crazy. Here's Jemele Hill. Remember when she was at ESPN spouting all this crazy left-wing stuff? Well, Clay Travis exposed her latest nonsense. She says the Asian plaintiffs who won the Supreme Court decision to end discrimination against Asian college and university applicants, Karyn, are white supremacists. So the Asian men and women who stood up to the system and said, we as minorities are being treated unfairly, Asian men and women are white supremacists.
But Asian is Asian. You're not white,
but
right?
You're applying logic, yes.
I'm very confused.
She says
yet again.
These Asian people, not white people, these Asian people
are now white supremacists.
Are white supremacists.
So could a black person also be a white supremacist? Under these terms?
Under this theory, I guess it could. Terrance, your thoughts about Jemele Hill saying that these Asian men and women who are standing on principle are white supremacists.
Yeah. I'm not so sure I understand the theory, but I do know that there's a lot of emotion tied up with the Supreme Court's ruling. And again, it comes back to there seems to be, and I've had this conversation, as you can imagine, a number of times over the weekend. There's a concern among many black parents in particular, at least that I've spoken with, that their kids might be discriminated against, that no matter how qualified their kids are, that they might still be discriminated against as they apply to colleges and all of that. And so, again, to me, it comes down to we need to find a system that ensures that all people, no matter race, color, gender, whatever, that they're given a fair and equal shot at admissions to the best universities or to any university, period, particularly based on their merit. And the reality is there are black students, as are Asian students, who have merit and who have all of the grades and whatever is needed to enter university. They just need to get a fair share.
But don't Asian people...
It shouldn't even come into play. You have the merits or you don't.
Exactly.
We're all Americans. We should all be a level playing field.
Agreed. But again, historically, we know that hasn't necessarily been the case.
Right. And so now some Asian people stand up and say, we're being discriminated against, and a black woman is saying you're a white supremacist.
As I said, I don't understand that logic. I said that I don't get that logic.
And we see people like Elizabeth Warren pretending they're nationalities that they aren't, maybe for advantage in those economic and academic situations.
Native American, right?
Yeah.
Pocahontas. Why don't we turn to Sunny Side Up, something more positive? All right, this is pretty straight up, maybe a little harsher than usual, but do something nice for someone today. I saw this on Instagram. A person said, I was in Dunkin' Donuts and I bought a homeless man a coffee and a bagel. I sat with him. He told me how people treat him. He told me how drugs ruined him, how he lost his mom to cancer. He never knew his dad. This man's name was Chris. Before I left, Chris asked me to wait so he could write something down. This was it. I wanted to kill myself today, but because of you, I will not. Thank you, you beautiful person. Amazing.
That's
what
awesome.
One kind gesture can do.
Beautiful.
Patriots, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yelling MOB, move over body. Yelling MOB, move over body. Yelling MOB, move over body.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Just had those 8 guys and 1 girl cross over right down behind me. I called into the sector headquarters, and this is what they said.
Say, you saw
8. I've got 6 climbing down right now, and there's 8. I saw 3 already run into the U.S. So you said you've got nobody out here?
And you're probably close to BSI 335.
There's a dirt road that runs into where I'm at, and that's what it's AR 430. And
430 road. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 430 road, and they're climbing down the ladder as we speak, about a mile east of that. Just a heads up, if you want to let them know, there'll be a group of about 8 going through. I mean, I saw another group about 2 miles back doing the same thing. So it's just wide open out here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that sucks.
Film it.
I am.
Thank you for calling it in, but we have nobody to work it, sir. Manpower is nil.
God bless you, brother.
You too, sir. Be careful out there.
Yeah, hopefully we get somebody in office that'll actually let you guys do your jobs, huh?
Heard, sir. Heard. Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
You too, sir.
I want to play that again. Secretary Mayorkas, listen to this. America, listen to this. Listen to what he just told me.
Thank you for calling it in, but we have nobody to work it, sir. Manpower is nil.
Nobody. They have nobody. Nobody to stop that. He said, film it. God bless him. God bless Border Patrol. But man, we need people in office who actually put America first again.
Okay, welcome. It's Wednesday, 5 July, year of Lord 2023. While the nation was celebrating Independence Day from the British Empire, at least the signing of the Declaration, I want to make sure everybody understands the whole situation in 1776. As I said yesterday, the signing of the Declaration is very important, but you had, an 8-year war in front of you. And particularly the from 4 July to Christmas night, it was nothing but a series of just defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat. And many, many people changing sides, including, I think, one of the signers of the Declaration itself. We'll get into all that. The entire month, we've deemed here in the War Room, it's Pride Month. Pride in our nation. Pride in what our nation stands for. Pride in the sovereignty of our nation. Pride in the citizens of our nation. And particularly pride in Old Glory, the American flag. Not the flag of the perverts and the degenerates and debauchery. And everything they brought, including a lot over this weekend, a lot of devastation and hurt, given the radical nature of this ideology that we're up against. Dr. Miriam Grossman is going to join us in the second hour to talk about that. We are packed today. I want to go to Eagle Pass, Texas, and Ben Bergquam. We've also got some great B-roll. Ben, as Americans celebrated the 4th with fireworks or with drone displays, patriotic music, a backyard barbecue, hopefully watching the War Room as we went through the history of the revolution. The people inside our government, inside the apparatus, are working nonstop to exacerbate an invasion of this country. Are they not, sir? I think we lost Ben. Is that okay? Can we get a sound up? Okay. We might have lost him. It's a very tough, he's down in Eagle Pass, Texas, a very tough situation down there. This, because over the weekend, there's all these, by the way, if we can't get him up, just have him call in. We can play the B-roll. We can get him on the phone. All weekend, all you heard from the Biden regime was how it's all-time lows and crossing the border. That's all lies. As Todd's been showing you, because they've reworked the system. They've reworked the system to have these humanitarian passes and the app and all that. All they're doing is getting people to organize deeper in Mexico and to come and to fly them deep into the United States. Okay, so it goes unstopped. What, 225 to 285,000 per month, which is more than the armies of that stormed Normandy. This is an absolute invasion. And we talk about Independence Day. When in our country's history have we ever allowed an exacerbated invasion? And this is an invasion exacerbated by forces in this regime. CNN this morning, absolute, total, complete meltdown. If you look at their lead story by the smartest guy over there, Stephen Collinson, they put him on the Real Stories, and they're talking about Trump's show of force in South Carolina, and obviously the polling that's come out in the last couple of days, and members of DeSantis' campaign finally acknowledging, that this thing is a failure to launch a DeSantis, and he continues, Governor DeSantis.
Okay, hang on. I'll give him a second. Now that I'm on a roll, you got to feel. You don't feel your slot in war room, baby. I have no problem talking. They're now in total panic mode. And why are they in panic mode? They know Trump is not going to tolerate any of this stuff. They had this article the other day about the most radical policies being talked about that are maybe not getting attention in the campaign. And they talked about, I think it's Vivek wants to increase the age of voters, and Nikki Haley wants to have a test for everybody over 70. Although her policies are a throwback to these irrelevant neoliberal neocon policies. She wants to have a test to see if Trump is sharp enough, right? Anybody over 70. All these, that's like not event. Some of the most meaningful policies President Trump is talking about all the time. He's talking about the deportation, and DeSantis agrees with him. So that means, what, 85% of the voting base of the Republican Party. They're talking about a mass deportation of this invasion force, a mass deportation. President Trump's also taken away the sham of the birthright citizenship, which is another sham. His policies, what he's talking about to blunt this invasion, because this invasion keeps unabated. You're not going to have a country. You're simply not going to have a country. And if you think, this is a replacement of the white, no. The people being hurt most in this are American citizens that happen to be African American and or Hispanic, okay? Because this is flooding the zone with low-skilled men, essentially fighting age males. Does that strike you as odd? Fighting age males that are flooding the country. We're going to have Harnwell in here for a second talk about France and what Nigel Farage has been talking about. Nigel Farage over there getting debanked by every financial institution in the United Kingdom. Why? He's throwing down hard on this immigration fiasco they have in the United Kingdom. France is right now in full meltdown. Le Pen is on TV saying, hey, we got to get rid of Macron right now. I think they cut off the internet, parts of the internet over the weekend of this uprising. It's an uprising in France. You're seeing it right here on the southern border. If you go back and look at when Pancho Villa, this is not often talked about because it happened right at the beginning stages of World War I. When Pancho Villa had a fallout with his other revolutionaries in Mexico, he struck into the United States at Columbus, New Mexico, I think early in March of 1916, where they sent General Pershing went on this punitive expedition to set things right. But before that, I think it was in 1914, when Pancho Villa was at the top of his game. And Pancho Villa was an amazing guerrilla fighter, right? He had, I think at that time, an army of, it was estimated maybe 40,000, essentially cavalry, right? It was very effective. He took a meeting. This is with the Germans all over New Mexico. All over Mexico. The Germans were in back of a lot that was going on with the other revolutionary groups and the groups that eventually came to power, because the Germans wanted to tie the Americans up on their southern border in the early